Hey, this is Molly. Welcome back to my YouTube channel as we look at the Capricorn Full Moon happening on July 3rd, 2023 at 7:38 a.m. That's Eastern Time, so be sure and adjust for your location on the planet. The Capricorn Full Moon always signifies that we are halfway through the calendar year because we begin the calendar year with the Sun in Capricorn and we end the calendar year with the Sun in Capricorn. So this is a halfway point where we have the full moon occurring at 11 degrees of Capricorn in your chart. So this is the degree point you would want to find, as this is where the moon is full and bright, shining a light on something in your life, in your chart, in your energy related to these Capricorn energies, which we'll talk about a bit more. You can see that the moon is here at 11 degrees opposing the sun at 11 degrees of Cancer, conjunct Mercury at 14 degrees of Cancer. Now, because this is the halfway point of the year and the energy is in Capricorn, this would be a good time to check in on your New Year's resolutions. Oh yeah, remember those? What were those? What were your New Year's resolutions? What did you commit to for this year? How's that going? Do you even know where the gym is? How are your developments happening based on the Capricorn energy of what you want to do for the long term? And how are you managing these energies regularly? Capricorn is about responsibility and maturity, what we need to take care of, what we need to really make sure we don't let it slip. We have to make sure that we are running the show in various areas of our lives, because Capricorn is about our own authority, how we show up in our lives and get things done, make progress, handle what needs to be handled. So this is a checking in full moon, checking in on how is this year going for you? How are things unfolding? And what is in front of you that you are managing well? And what is also coming up during this full moon that you're seeing in a new light or you're seeing in a new way and you want to make some changes? Because this is a full moon to do any type of course corrections, shifts, look at things in a new way, in a different way. This is also where the full moon in Capricorn often takes a higher perspective to look down the road ahead. Where is this going? Where am I going? What is the plan? What is the strategy? How am I going to get there? So that can be part of the course correction. Now, the opposition from the Sun and Mercury in Cancer is about how you feel about it. Really, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about going to the gym? How are you feeling about what is happening at work or in your career? And this energy is archetypally your home base. So Cancer is the energy of what is comfortable for you, what is safe, what feels good. And this is also the energy of where you go at the end of the day. After a long day at work, Capricorn, you return home. And so this is the energy of coming home to your real thoughts, to what you're contemplating, what you're privately processing and thinking through. Cancer being very internal. So this is an energy of checking in on how you're balancing these two areas of yourself, these two areas of your life. And the full moon is always this opposition between the sun and the moon. And so it's asking us to look at what's out of balance and what can be brought into balance. And even the word balance can be interesting because it can almost bring up this thought of 50-50. But you know that you have to go one place, like you have to show up to work 100% and then you return home 100%. So that could be part of the balance, is also making sure that you aren't working too hard or overdoing it to your own detriment. And this Cancer energy can bring you back into your own needs. What do I need here that would support me so that I can be better at what I need to take care of every day. Now for this full moon, a lot of you will ask typically what's the orb? And the moon moves fast, and the moon always moves in direct. So the orb for the moon is often a bigger orb. It can be 8 to 9 degrees in terms of where the moon is traveling towards. But where the moon has already been, it's probably a shorter orb. I only give it maybe 2 or 3 degrees because the moon isn't going back there. The moon moves forward. So the moon in Capricorn is going to really highlight any planets or points you have between, let's say, 9 degrees to 18 or 19 degrees of Capricorn. And it's going to shine a light on those Capricorn energies in terms of also what matters to you right now, what your priorities are, what maybe you want to get done by the end of the year. And that could be part of your course correction, what you're evaluating and realizing. And in terms of, okay, by the end of 2023, what do you want to have taken care of? What is important? What matters? And how can you start planning for that accordingly now? Now, this full moon actually has beautiful support from both the ruling planet of Capricorn, which is Saturn, now retrograde, and this Jupiter. So let's talk about each of these. So we know that Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is now retrograde in Pisces, and this Saturn is going to travel back to 0 degrees of Pisces until the beginning of November 4th. So now Saturn is reviewing territory that it has entered into March 7th and 8th. This Saturn stationed retrograde July 18th. And this is a period of going slow and reviewing, looking over things that maybe you missed, especially in Pisces. Also looking at, I see it with Pisces as sometimes we say yes when we meant to say no, or vice versa. Maybe you said no, and now you're realizing that you really mean yes. So Saturn is bringing your attention to how you're handling Pisces energies in your life, and Saturn wants a certain level of contemplation and discernment here. The Saturn in Pisces is also bringing about boundaries, and the boundaries that are important for you to implement, and maybe that's related to a yes or a no, a decision, something now that you perhaps want to review and sit with and determine, do I really need this going forward? Because part of the Pisces energy is understanding what needs to be cleared out, what you need to let go of. And that isn't always something that we know right away or that we can do anything about right away. So the Saturn in Pisces is really wanting you to be clear on what you need and what you don't need, and where those boundaries are for you right now. Are they working? Are they supporting you? Are they in alignment as well with your current spiritual journey and frequency, which is also Pisces? And Pisces energy is about what we are learning in this lifetime spiritually, how we are growing, also how we are further integrating these energies into our lives, which is Saturn, because Saturn is the 3D, Pisces is very much the 5D. So how are you integrating energies into your life that represent who you are now? And also, I feel it too as how much you're trusting your path. And maybe that's part of the course correction, is you're like, this maybe isn't really on my path, or maybe I really don't want this on my path. So Saturn is asking us to go slow and review. And it's working favorably here with this full moon in Capricorn, as well as the sun in Cancer. Now, the other supportive energy is Jupiter in new territory at 9 degrees of Taurus, also working favorably with that sun in Cancer and trining the moon in Capricorn. And with this strength of earth signs here through that trine, there is support for what you want to build and develop and focus on. And this energy in both Capricorn and Taurus brings in what you need to get the job done, what you need to move forward, what is necessary for next steps, for what you're building. This is wonderful support. And in fact, the sun was exactly sextile this Jupiter 2 days before the full moon, and could have given you a boost of understanding, of inspiration, of what you were ready to trust in yourself as well. Now, also in this chart, we still have both Jupiter and Saturn working well together in a sextile that was exact mostly through the second half of June. And that sextile is about trusting where you need to go next, what you want to put your resources into. This Jupiter in Taurus is about where we want to invest. And typically it's the physical, tangible investments, whether that is money or resources or things that we need to build up or go forward. So there is a practical component with this full moon that feels quite grounding. I also feel like it's beautifully supporting the Saturn in Pisces internal work of really making sure that you're feeling strong on your spiritual path. And that there's things that could be showing up. I'm feeling it that like delight you. They're like, oh wow, this came through and I didn't expect it. Or oh, this was something that I was waiting for and it finally arrived at my front door or in my inbox or something. So I feel like there's energy here that is really helping us move forward. Since we have this Pluto now back in Capricorn, it's going to go back to 27 degrees of Capricorn this year. It's making another nice sextile to Neptune here. And just for perspective, this Pluto and Neptune have been in an ongoing sextile for over a century. So they've been in a harmonious connection for a while. It will continue, but it'll be a little bit off, if you will, because of Pluto going into Aquarius again in January 2024. But what this assists with, this Neptune assists us with what this Pluto is transforming, and this allows us to continue to trust the process, trust what you need to take care of, to trust yourself and to trust your higher self especially. Now, this Pluto in Capricorn means that we're going to have one more opposition with the Sun in Cancer coming up here in a few weeks. In fact, that will happen after the Cancer new moon. So we do have one more opposition between this the Sun in Cancer and Pluto in Capricorn that is continuing to evolve our emotional expression and mature us, and having us look at where we've come from, what we have been harboring or sitting with that has been in our unconscious. And this Pluto in Capricorn brings it out and says, you can handle this. You can look at this. You are powerful enough. You are strong enough to work with whatever has been buried, repressed, held back emotionally, especially from childhood, from your family lineage, your ancestors. Those are some of the big themes as the sun journeys through Cancer. Our own internal journey will tune into these messages even more. So this will be, in 2023, the final opposition between this Pluto in Capricorn and the sun in Cancer. Again, it happens after the Cancer new moon. But I just wanted to highlight that because I feel like with the moon in Capricorn, the moon is going to move forward and be conjunct this Pluto. And it could be that you're going to have some insights into what you've been wrapping up, clearing out, really understanding about your family, where you came from, your childhood, your inner child, even where you haven't been trusting yourself, you haven't felt empowered in some manner. That could also come up between this Capricorn full moon until the Cancer new moon. So just a heads up about that. Now we do have Venus and Mars traveling together in Leo. They're 3 degrees apart. And this Venus is going to be stationing retrograde July 22nd, July 23rd at 28 degrees of Leo. So she is in her shadow, but she's traveling behind Mars. Mars is in charge. Mars is leading the show here. Mars is strong in Leo. He is very much aware of what he wants and he wants to go for it. And so there is a nice synergy here between masculine and feminine energies working together, even perhaps feeling like that Mars energy is able to take the lead, and Venus can hold her own. She's strong in Leo too, but she's traveling behind Mars. So it could feel like a support system, divine feminine energy supporting. It could feel like there's things that you are really heavily focused on that you want to create. This is quite creative energy in terms of the projects or inspirations or whatever might be calling to you. And they've also been changed. I mean, both Mars and Venus in Leo, remember they had a very impactful opposition to that Pluto in Aquarius. And they had a really strong reprogramming through the fixed Grand Cross with Jupiter in Taurus and the North Node and South Node. And I talked about that about a month ago. So there's energy here that both Mars and Venus are understanding how they have to evolve into some new creations, some new expressions, really almost digging deeper into knowing more of their truer desires and intentions and what really matters to them. I feel too like because both Mars and Venus were in that really tough energy opposing Pluto, that was an ego death. And that was something that you wanted or desired that had to either die or come back around in a new creation, a new version, a higher version. Maybe it's even a healed version. Something had to be acknowledged that this isn't working, this isn't healthy, this isn't good for me, this isn't good for my heart, this doesn't feel loving. Those are Leo themes. This doesn't feel validating, this doesn't feel good to who I am. And so these energies have been really undergoing some intense growth and healing, and they're both in a trine here to this Chiron, now at 19 degrees of Aries. This is new territory for Chiron, hasn't been at this degree point. And they previously had an exact trine to the Chiron. So it's interesting because I feel like there's masculine and feminine healing that's been unfolding ever since they had that opposition to Pluto and they were square both the Jupiter and North Node and South Node. So the Leo areas here might be requiring you to tap into new energies of light. I'm seeing a heart light. Is that Neil Diamond? Turn on your heart light. There's something here about this refresh It's interesting though, because the Leo energy can have a lot of resistance and too much pride to change, and then it doesn't fully heal or move forward or even do what's necessary. So sometimes with the fixed signs, they can be very stuck and stubborn in their own patterns, in their own bubble, if you will. But I feel like there's been something jarring here for this Mars and this Venus that they've each had to really understand and look at. But it's meant to be new sparks of creativity, new sparks of inspiration. Now, this Mars is going to move forward and enter Virgo. And as Mars enters Virgo, he's actually still strong in Virgo. So this Mars is doing well. He's in his strength in Leo, and then he is strong in Virgo. So the Mars, the masculine energy, is going to continue forward and really be with, it's interesting. It feels like after that extended Mars retrograde in Gemini, this Mars can understand more of the fullness of who he is and is taking steps in new ways in his life because of how that masculine energy was in a retrograde and now it's strong and moving forward. Whereas the Venus, the feminine, is about to go through an extended retrograde in Leo, and she's going to be working on herself or doing some deeper introspection and deeper reflection on what she wants, what she needs, what feels like love, especially Venus and Leo, which is about feeling loved, receiving love, being seen for who you really are, your authentic nature. But it's also about having the courage to be authentically yourself. So we're going to have even more going on with this Venus and Leo. And I'll be talking about that in my podcast as well. But just know that I feel like there's something here that she's not even going to understand until October. So if you can just allow that to be in your awareness, that there's some things that are going to get worked through, that you're going to have to sit with and slow down with, the feminine energy specifically. And then once Venus is done with her upcoming retrograde, things are clearer in October. And so this is July. This chart is for July. So there's things that you're going to have to sit with in your heart, in your creativity, in your desires, in what you want, in your sense of self, in your confidence. So yeah, just a heads up about that the Venus energy here is going to be going through some reprogramming. But Venus is strong in Leo. Venus is strong in Leo. So she's not going to lose herself or what she wants. I feel like rather she's going to understand even more what is necessary for her and what she requires. Oh, and part of the Venus retrograde is that she's going to keep having 3 squares to Uranus at 21, nearly 22 degrees of Taurus. And so she has a square here in this chart. It was actually exact before the full moon. But this is like, I'm going to say electrical shocks. It's like a lightning strike. It's like something zaps her. Maybe it zaps her in the heart. It zaps her with her inspiration. Maybe there's something that actually is uncomfortable. And I say that because these are the fixed signs which prefer comfort and stability, reliability, what is known. So Venus having 3 squares to Uranus and Taurus is going to shake up. It's actually, I feel like it's going to shake up what she thought she could manifest or receive. And you could see this as it can be even better. It can be an upgrade. It could be a universal upgrade. So we will keep talking about that as Venus approaches her retrograde. So all in all, Capricorn full moon is checking in on how this year is going for you in 2023. What changes do you need to make? What is necessary? What is a smart, wise decision? That's what Capricorn wants. What makes sense? What is something that you're realizing, okay, this is not working. I've got to shift it or change it or make some new choices. That's what can come up very strongly during this Capricorn full moon. And again, I do have a video for you here on YouTube about how to find a degree point in your chart. So please check out that video if you need help identifying where 11 degrees of Capricorn is for you. As always, wishing you a beautiful full moon as we move into July. And I will be back soon with another video and podcast for you. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and commenting on this video. I appreciate it, and I'll see you back here soon.